This is the story of a man who lost everything, only to build an empire from the ashes of his own name. Today, the four rings of Audi are a global symbol of luxury and engineering prowess, a badge seen on highways from Berlin to Beijing. But the path to becoming a billion-dollar brand was not a smooth ride on a German Autobahn. It was a treacherous, unpaved road, paved with betrayal, financial ruin, and not one, but several near-total collapses. The relentless engineer at the heart of this saga, August Horch, saw his own company turn against him, was legally barred from using his own surname, and watched his life's work crumble under the weight of 2 world wars. Yet, his vision refused to fade. This is the incredible true story of how a brand, born from the bitter taste of failure, fought, clawed, and engineered its way to the top against impossible odds. How did a name that was once erased from history come to dominate the global stage? The answer is far more dramatic than you can imagine. From a small forge to the future, our story begins not in a boardroom, but in a blacksmith's shop. August Horch entered the world in 1868, the son of a blacksmith in the quiet German village of Winningen. His childhood was filled with the rhythmic clang of hammer on anvil, the intense heat of the forge, and the smell of hot metal. This environment instilled in the young boy a deep, fundamental respect for craftsmanship and the transformation of raw materials into useful tools. But August's mind was not limited to the forge. He was coming of age during a period of breathtaking change in Germany. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, and the landscape was being reshaped by steam engines, sprawling railroads, and complex new machinery. While his hands understood the old ways, his eyes were fixed firmly on the new. Drawn by an insatiable curiosity for the science behind these machines, he made a decisive break from family tradition. He left the blacksmith's trade behind and enrolled at the Mittweida Technical College, immersing himself in the world of mechanical engineering. This education provided the theoretical foundation upon which a very tangible dream would soon be built. His big break, the opportunity that would set his destiny in motion, arrived when he secured a position at the workshop of none other than Carl Benz. Imagine that, working directly under the man who had invented the automobile itself. For a young, ambitious engineer like Horch, this was more than a job. It was a front-row seat to the birth of an entire industry. He was no longer just reading about engines. He was learning from the master how to adapt stationary power units into vehicles that could move under their own power. He absorbed not only the technical knowledge but also the entrepreneurial spirit that crackled in the air around Benz's work. But a mind as sharp and ambitious as Horch's was not destined to remain an employee for long. He burned with a desire to apply his own ideas, to build his own machines, his own way. The lessons he learned under Benz were invaluable, but they only fueled his own separate vision. In 1899, with a head full of ideas and a heart full of ambition, he took the monumental leap. With backing from a group of investors, August Horch founded August Horch & C. in Cologne. At a time when cars were still seen as experimental novelties for the very wealthy, this was a profoundly bold step. His ambition was clear from the start. He would not produce crude copycat machines. His vehicles would be feats of sophisticated engineering. His early Horch automobiles quickly stood out from the competition. He incorporated high-strength steel for critical engine components, pioneered smooth shaft-driven transmissions over clunky chains, and introduced advanced multi-speed gearboxes. These weren't just incremental improvements. They were revolutionary features that made his cars more reliable, more powerful, and more refined. Customers and critics alike took notice, and his reputation as a brilliant, if demanding, engineer soared. Success demanded expansion. The company moved first to Reichenbach, and then, in 1904, to the city that would become inextricably linked with its destiny. Each move was a testament to Horch's determination to transform his small workshop into a serious, major player in the German automotive industry. Yet, this very success contained the seeds of his downfall. Horch's commitment to uncompromising quality and relentless innovation came with a steep price tag. He consistently favored technical excellence and prestige over financial caution and profitability, a stance that increasingly frustrated his pragmatic investors. The tension between his visionary engineering and their bottom-line expectations grew steadily, a silent conflict simmering beneath the surface of the company's success. By 1909, this conflict reached its inevitable, explosive breaking point. The board of directors, tired of the disputes over spending and direction, made a brutal decision. They forced August Horch, the founder, the visionary, the namesake, out of the very company he had created from nothing. It was a devastating professional and personal humiliation, but the cruelty was not yet complete. A subsequent court ruling added a final bitter twist. He was legally barred from using the Horch name for any new automobile venture. The founder had been stripped of both his company and his identity in the industry he helped to shape. He was exiled, cast out, and silenced. What do you do when you lose the right to your own name? For most, this would have been the end of the story. For August Horch, it was merely the end of the first act. The answer to this existential crisis was both clever and defiant. He would not disappear. He would not surrender. Founding a new enterprise in Civico just months after his ouster, he faced the legal wall surrounding his name. The solution came through a friend's simple, brilliant suggestion, translating Hawk, which means listen in German, into its Latin equivalent, Audi. And so, in 1909, Audi Automobilwerk GmbH was born. It was a poetic and resilient way to preserve his identity while establishing a fresh brand, a phoenix rising from the ashes of his first dream. The new company wasted no time. In 1910, Audi released the Type A, followed swiftly by the Type B. These cars were immediate statements of intent, reflecting Hawk's uncompromising determination to build machines that stood apart. They featured powerful four-cylinder engines, smooth gear transitions, high ground clearance for the era's rough roads, and lightweight construction that improved both speed and handling. They were sleek, powerful, and more refined than many of their rivals. But building a great car was only half the battle. He had to prove it. One of the most effective strategies Audi adopted was a ruthless entry into the world of motorsport. Between 1911 and 1914, the company competed ferociously in the Austrian Alpine Run, a grueling long-distance rally across the treacherous Alps. Audi's cars didn't just participate. They repeatedly achieved stunning victories, proving their reliability and engineering strength under the most punishing conditions imaginable. For Hawk, racing was not a hobby. It was a matter of survival in a crowded market where prestige directly translated into sales. These Alpine triumphs transformed Audi from a plucky newcomer into a genuinely respected competitor. But the glory days of racing would be brutally cut short by the thunder of war. When World War I broke out in 1914, Audi, like every other German manufacturer, was conscripted into the war effort. Civilian car production ceased almost overnight, and the factory in Civicow was retooled to produce trucks and military transport. This dramatic shift kept the company's machinery running but tied its fate to the uncertain outcome of a global conflict. The war left Germany physically and economically devastated. The Treaty of Versailles imposed severe industrial restrictions, and the country was plunged into economic chaos. The early 1920s brought the nightmare of hyperinflation, where the German mark became virtually worthless, and prices skyrocketed by the hour. For a small, premium manufacturer like Audi, which relied on wealthy clients, these conditions were catastrophic. Production slowed to a trickle. Struggling under this immense financial pressure and with limited control over the company's dire decisions, August Hawk made his exit. In 1920, he formally left Audi's management. Though he was appointed an honorary professor in recognition of his contributions, his direct involvement in the automotive industry was over. He would never return to the driver's seat. It seemed the final chapter for the Audi name had been written. But was this truly the end? The Great Depression of the early 1930s applied even more pressure, forcing a desperate alliance for survival. In 1932, for struggling automakers Audi Hawk, DKW and Wonder emerged to form Auto Union A. The new logo, for interlocked rings, represented this powerful union. Each brand had a defined role. Hawk would handle the luxury segment, Audi the sporty and advanced vehicles, DKW the small cars and motorcycles, and Wanderer the reliable mid-range models. Although August Hawk had created two of these four companies, his role was now entirely symbolic. He was a guest of honor at the signing ceremony, a legend from a bygone era. Yet his vision lived on, encoded into this new corporate DNA. Auto Union quickly gained global fame through its terrifyingly fast Silver Arrow racing cars, which dominated European circuits and competed directly against Mercedes-Benz. However, this success was shadowed by the dark cloud of history, as the Nazi government heavily sponsored both companies, using their engineering victories as tools of propaganda. As the regime marched toward war, Auto Union's factories were again redirected to military production. The cost of this entanglement would be devastating. By the end of World War II, Auto Union was in total collapse. The city of Civicow fell under Soviet control. The factories were systematically dismantled. Machinery was ripped out and shipped to the Soviet Union as war reparations. What remained was a hollowed-out shell. Car production in the region stopped completely. The brand that August Hawk had built, not once, but twice, had vanished. Buried under the rubble of war, occupation, and the new Iron Curtain, it was oblivion. Yet against all odds, a determined group of former Auto Union executives refused to let the dream die. They escaped to West Germany and, in 1949, with help from the Bavarian state government, restarted Auto Union in the city of England. But they faced a monumental problem. They had no factory, no access to their past assets, and the Audi name held no recognition in the West. Their only practical option was to focus on the small, affordable vehicles of the DKW brand. These humble two-stroke cars and motorcycles kept the company's heart beating. But they were a far cry from the luxury and performance of the pre-war era. Audi remained a forgotten ghost, a relic in an industry now being led by the rise of Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, and BMW. The story seemed definitively, irrevocably finished, until a surprising and powerful buyer stepped in. In 1964, Volkswagen acquired the struggling Auto Union from Daimler-Benz. For Volkswagen, the purchase was a strategic masterstroke, securing a modern production facility in Ingolstadt for Auto Union. It meant life-saving stability under a powerful and wealthy parent company. This acquisition created the perfect conditions for a miracle. The decisive move came in 1965 when Volkswagen made the bold decision to revive a name that had been dormant for decades. They launched the Audi F103 series, positioning it as a refined, technically advanced alternative to the utilitarian Volkswagen Beetle. The strategy was clear and brilliant. Audi would become Volkswagen's answer to drivers seeking premium engineering without the extreme expense of a Mercedes-Benz. Volkswagen further supercharged this revival by merging Auto Union with NSU in 1969, bringing in valuable rotary engine technology and advanced engineering expertise. But the true masterstroke, the moment that would redefine Audi forever, arrived in 1980 with the unveiling of the Audi Quattro. This was not just another new car, it was a revolution on wheels. It was the first high-performance sports coupe to feature permanent all-wheel drive, a technology that would utterly dominate world rally racing for years. The image of the brutal, square-shaped Quattro powering through snow and dirt, leaving its competitors stranded, became an indelible part of automotive legend. Overnight, Audi was no longer just a premium sedan maker. It became synonymous with revolutionary technology, audacious performance, and engineering bravery. Innovation didn't just change the game, it rewrote the rules. From that pivotal moment, there was no looking back. The 1990s marked Audi's decisive transformation into a global luxury powerhouse. The adoption of the slogan Vorsprung durch Technik was a declaration of intent, a promise of advancement through technology. New product lines like the A4, A6, and A8 sedans offered a perfect blend of understated elegance, cutting-edge interiors, and Quattro-driven capability. The TT Coupe, launched in 1998, became an instant design icon, a rolling sculpture that proved Audi understood art as well as engineering. The high-performance RS division showcased a terrifying and thrilling level of power. Then Audi astutely expanded into the booming SUV market with the Q7 and Q5, capturing a whole new generation of luxury buyers. The financial results were staggering. Annual sales exploded from a few 100,000 vehicles to over 1.8 million, with revenue climbing into the tens of billions of dollars. August Hawke died in 1951, never witnessing the ultimate, global triumph of the name he created. His journey from a blacksmith's son to the founder of an icon is a timeless testament to stubborn vision and resilient genius. He was fired, disowned, and nearly erased by history, yet the four rings he inspired now shine on roads across the world, a symbol of luxury born from adversity. If you enjoyed this incredible story of resilience, please show your support by giving this video a like and following Winds of Thought for more deep dives into the forgotten stories that shaped our world.